Welcome back to episode number 10 of the Brother Peel podcast. Me and Steve the Dean. This is a show that we do with our third guest, the Angry Man. It's a kind of a little holy trinity of this side here. I want to first introduce myself. O'Shea Duke Jackson. At my main channel was O'Shea Duke Jackson. This is my secondary channel, O'Shea Vlogcast. You can also follow my daily blog. It's a men's magazine called www.negromanosphere.com. I will now go to my gracious host here, the mighty one and only Steve the Dean Williams.
I'm not gracious at all, but thank you for having me. Guys, how you doing? Steve the Dean Williams, www.themanmindset.com. I am a relationship and sex coach and a straight up asshole. Thank you for having me on, O'Shea.
Cool. He's actually not as bad as he wants to make himself look, but let's talk about this because I believe it is imperative as a topic. Africans versus African Americans is something that I've covered before. I don't think Steve has ever covered it, but I believe he has a really good opinion and some insight on this. And I just want to talk about some of the differences. We are African Americans. Me and you, Steve, correct? You're African American also, right?
Well, I don't like using the term African American. I'm a black.
Okay, you're a descendant of
yeah, I'm a descendant of African, but
in Africa.
I agree, but I don't like that's a term. Like I always say, I don't like to use Jesse Jackson terms and shit.
Okay.
So, but no, yes, I am African. I'm a descendant from Africa.
Descendant of Africa. Okay, just like we are. And so typically, if you look at people like me, Steve, the majority of our audience, we've been in this particular country for at least 400 years. We've had our battles and civil rights issues and things of this nature. But among the last, I would say, 50 years, there has been an influx of indigenous Africans who have been coming to the United States. Now, just a brief overview. Great Britain had most notably several colonies that they had colonized. Among those, Nigeria being one of them, which was the breadbasket of Africa. And you had Uganda. And so once Britain, because Nigeria was actually a colony of Britain, meaning that you got British passports as a Nigerian colony, as a Ghanaian colony. Ghana was a part of the United Kingdom. They were part of the throne of the Queen. But when these African countries, I believe Ghana in 1957 said, I want independence. A lot of the colonies that in Europe, like the French that had, Burkina Faso and Ivory Coast and other places, the Congo, sorry, that was Belgium, but they didn't necessarily like that because there became a wars in those countries between the people who, were starting the country as the first prime ministers who wanted the resources and the former British who had businesses and still wanted to control things there. So what ended up happening in the majority of the countries that Britain had, Nigeria, Ghana, we would see civil wars, Uganda. And so what ended up happening is that a lot of those highly educated Africans that the British had educated were fleeing those countries due to civil unrest. Many of them found themselves in either Britain or in America. And when the Africans came to America, many of them who had advanced degrees, lawyers, engineers, doctors, could easily fit into the American economy very well, and they did very well. Like, for example, Nigerians still do better than even Asians in America due to their, very high quality of education in Nigeria and moving here. And then there became a very big beef between the African Americans and the Africans. And Steve, you live in the Houston, Texas area, so I know that you know a lot about a lot of African immigrants that live there.
Yes.
Have you encountered that there is some animosity between African people and the blacks that are here in America?
Well, yeah. I try to get along with everybody, but it's just there's that look you get from those that see that if your wife is white, you get that from the black people. You know that look. But there's a look a little bit lower than that that's even worse. It's that you trashy nigga. That it's a look that they give you like you're not pure, you're not original, you're a mixture of all these other races. You're not just it's a look that they give you that's just is really fucked up. And I'm not saying all Africans, but the majority that I have seen, I've spoke to, even in the store, even some of the African stores I support, when you paying money, usually they put the money in your, okay, just other races, I'll just say that. Then sometimes they put the money in your hand. These motherfuckers are like throw this shit on the counter. Well, not throw this shit on the counter, but they'll put it on the counter and make me pick it. I mean, it's just something that they feel like, you know what, we are the originals and you're fake. But I understand the thought process behind it, though, O'Shea. I understand how they feel and I get it. So I mean, even though I'm part of it, but I understand how they feel.
Let me talk to you about this because Harvard University and some of the Ivy League schools, and it's not only Africans, I believe, that have a big issue with African Americans. Those who are from the Caribbeans, who are a part of the Black diaspora, I'm talking about those from Jamaica, those from Trinidad, Tobago, they also have a certain attitude towards blacks. Many of them, when I went to Howard University, I talked to many of the girls there who said that their father said that they should never date an African American, although an African American university was giving them a full ride to go to Howard University. Do you get the impression that Africans in America, many of them feel that they are better than us, than we are lazy, that we are squandering an opportunity. We don't know what we're doing. We're stupid.
Yeah. And it's the same thing that with alphas and betas. It's the same type of feeling. Yeah, absolutely. They again, they're from the motherland. They're from where everything was created. So being there gives you a certain type of arrogance. And when you go places, you just have that feel of royalty, which they should have. But then they see us and they're like, you're the one, it's just the look that they give you thinking, yeah, you're right. We're definitely beneath them in their eyes.
Okay.
How did you get treated when you went there? Did when they noticed you wasn't original African and you was, you one of us, did they treat you any different?
Here's the thing. And I'm gonna send EBJS a link here, but let me kind of I'm gonna take some time here to explain some things. Anybody who's ever worked with at a white corporation, which most of them are, and you're a black person, you do a good job. What you will do at some point, this particular people who work there, what they're gonna do is they're gonna analyze you, and once they feel comfortable, like, oh, Steve, you're doing a good job. Wow, man, you're on time. You're not you're not like the other blacks that I know. Yeah. I'm gonna stop there because every black person who has done somewhat decent in the corporate world or in the field of education, when you do very well or you can speak very well and articulate very well, people are shocked. Especially some white people are very shocked if they haven't had a correlations with black people before. Africans are also the same way. Now, when you go to Africa, you're on their turf, so they don't know anything about the United States. They're just, in fact, they're fascinated to see you. However, in America, when they come across, and I have a excellent, I had a roommate from Ivory Coast who comes from a rich family. So you're not like the other blacks.
Yes.
The blacks I see in New York, they're hanging out. They're selling drugs.
Yeah.
But you don't talk like them. Why don't you act like the other blacks?
Yeah. Yeah.
And see, I think that what happens is that the Africans who come over here, and they're doing well, they look at African Americans as white people look at blacks. They forget that they are also being looked at as the same side eye as we are, but they look at African Americans the same way that the alt-right would look at Black Americans, and they look at us from a white person's point of view, and then they say, well, you guys are, they don't look at any circumstances as to maybe why some blacks are doing bad. And I'm not trying to judge. I'm not trying to give Black people a scapegoat by any means, because I don't do that for the most part. But there have been a lot of things against blacks to put them where they are. And those Africans who are in America don't understand that it's been Black Americans who have paved the way for their black asses to even be here. And they forget that.
Yeah. Well, getting to what you were saying about white people saying that, now again, I'm not trying to toot horns. I agree with you because, I've gone to these things called 1% parties and seeing people in the country club, and, they automatically assume that you're going to be like Pookie and Ray Ray. But then when you speak and you have thought, like you said, you get that, wow, you're not like the others, so you get that from all sides. I mean, not only do you get that, I mean, I've gotten that from white people. Like I say, I've gotten that from Black people. I've gotten that from Asians. I've gotten that from Middle Eastern people. I've gotten it from Koreans. You name the race. And unfortunately, with even going back to Africans, they just have a perception. And again, perception is everything, unfortunately, to a lot of people. But it's a perception that they have of the United States, thinking that, I'm sure they think most Black people either are rappers, gangsters, or thugs. And it's hard to envision a Black man who has sense like we do. We have thought and we can think, man.
Let me ask BGS, and thank you for being on the stream here. BGS, do you feel that there is some tension between Africans and Black Americans?
Yeah, I do, because I think it's more of a class issue than it is a color issue, because you got to remember for a Nigerian or any African to get here, it costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time, and it's a lot of sacrifice. And normally the Africans that get here are upper class from where they came from. Okay. So when they get here, and they have this vision of America where all the Black people are upper class and living well and all the and slaying it and all that kind of stuff. So when they get here and they see that is not the case, and and from where they came from, the struggle where they came from, they're saying, okay, if I'm an African, I'm a Black person just like they are, and I see the habits that they have, and they're not taking advantage of the opportunities that are here in America, because from where they come from, this is the land of opportunity. And if you're a Black person like me, and you get this kind of opportunity where you get free school, okay, all the way up through high school, which is damn near impossible in most countries of Africa, except for the upper classes. You have free access to libraries and all this magical stuff that they have absolutely nothing to get, because that's only the wealthy get this. So they're saying if you're in the empire, you're in the kingdom, and you're not taking advantage of it, it baffles them. And then they start to look down on you like, okay, you're lazy, you're shiftless, because you should be taken over, or you should be on the boardrooms, or you should be going Harvard, or you should have opened up your own schools or whatnot. You should be at the top, the cream of the crop, just like I am. And they don't realize that the same dynamic here in the United States, as far as class is concerned, even for white people, is the same dynamic to where they left from. Okay, because because you've been in Uganda, O'Shea, so you've been on the ground, and you notice there's a big division in class in Uganda. Same thing when I went to Ghana and a few other places. There's a division in class, and the way they envision America is like, it's number one, it's empire. So why shouldn't every person in America take advantage of it? And that's not the case. So you have upper class people that are it's structured and whatnot, and paid a hell of a lot of money to get here, just to be here, you know. And they're saying, okay, you guys get it for free. So how come you're not succeeding? So that's causes. I've heard that from many Africans, especially Nigerians.
And so the thing about it, I understand this, and while we're waiting for the other brothers, ABL wanted to jump in, so he'll be on LAR Movement. Being what you would consider and a proud, and I mean, I'm not shout out to Jesse Jackson, African American. Now, it wasn't until I came to Poland. I used to be one of those black people who thought that all black people, we should just welcome each other.
Mm-hmm.
That was my mindset when I encountered other black people. No matter where you're from, you're my brother. Mm-hmm. I soon found out that was not the case when I got here.
No.
I soon found out that although we look the same, skin folk did not make us kinfolk.
Preach.
And at that particular time, I understood that I really saw myself as an African American at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And I almost had to become sort of tribalistic, and that attitude came out in my YouTube videos. It was, and I still do to a certain point. I produced a lot of tribalistic material for African American people, specifically. Now, don't get me wrong, I am leaning a little bit more towards the Pan-Africanisms side too. But what Nigerians or what blacks will tell you, if you call them an African American, they're very quick to tell you, I am not a black American. Don't call me that. I am I'm a Yoruba. I am a Hausa, But when the narrative fits them, when they need somebody, so a black scholarship, they have no problem accepting a full ride over to Howard or to Tuskegee or to any other black university that is established by African Americans. Or if something they get pulled over by the police, they'll play the black card. They like to play black or black American when it fits them. And that is what I've noticed since I've been here. In my encounters with people, when you befriend a Nigerian or you befriend a person from Ivory Coast, you're not the same. And that's something that you got to understand. ABL, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I'm with you 100%. And the whole thing about it, I hear a lot of this talk about Africans being better than African Americans, but it's really an unfair comparison when you say, well, Africans are able to come over here and they're able to do better than us. They're able to get all these kind of scholarships, this, that, and the third. But you got to understand, people that come over here were already doing pretty well where they were, because
preach.
It is not free to come over here. It costs a lot of money. The average Nigerian cannot afford to even make the trip, nor can the average African American. It'd be like trying to compare blacks in America to blacks in Africa. Now, if you want to do that, you're going to see a whole different situation going on. I mean, we got ghettos over here in the USA, but in Africa, it's a different level. It's way different.
Oh, boy, I could tell you.
It's way different. So I think that, the whole, tit for tat, trying to compare, trying to, have a measuring contest. I ain't trying to be vulgar, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Trying to do that. Hey, trying to do that is not really going to be beneficial. We need to try to come together and work together without all this trying to say, oh, I'm better than you. And that ain't going to do nothing, because at the end of the day, it's not even really true.
And shout out to Anthony Brown Logan, man. He usually he got the nice little white V-neck on. What y'all? I see him working out that bun.
Man, I just came from eating, man. I had to take my shirt off. I ain't trying to, you know what I mean? When I eat, I go in. So I just came straight there.
Trying to.
No, you get niggified here. You got the white tee out, man.
He got a bandana on, eating chicken. Keep fucking around, coming all over here around these black people.
Yeah, we're gonna have him eating collard greens in a minute, man.
Let me get over to LAR Movement, man, and welcome to actually wanted to start the Brother Pill podcast with LAR Movement as one of the people initially. We got to get him on as a regular cog, man, because LAR Movement is a cold brother. Yeah, LAR, tell me, you live also in the Houston area. I don't know why you and Steve ain't hooked up, man, because y'all both in the same city.
I've been running around a lot. I will. Just give me some time.
Okay. Yeah, man. You sound like you got like a bunch of pit bulls chasing you or something, brother. You all right?
Yeah, I got you. Hold up.
Okay. No, you live in Houston. Houston has a very big African population. Do you feel that they look at you as being less than?
When I was in college, that's when I first learned about that.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, they look at us as less than, but they wind up getting a rude awakening.
Mm-hmm.
They just like talking about it, you know. Just like the people who come here, they do have money. They have a higher class at some point. But one of the problems when you talk to certain people is like, okay, since you're better than me, how come you couldn't do all this stuff that you say I can't do here in your own home?
Say it again.
You got that. You ask them that question, like, how come you can't do the stuff that you say? We have all these things that you can't do that in your own home.
Right.
And they just lose it. And it's like you got oil, you got diamonds, you got gold, you actually have 1 billion people. So it's bad to come here and say I'm better than you when you didn't even do that at home.
Exactly.
Let me do this. Let me take the conversation for a riff. I'm gonna start to Steve and go back to ABL and then BGS. Yes, Africans who come over here, and we got to be in their defense. And we got to play it a little smooth or a little fair. The Africans that I've talked to, and not all of them are bad people in America. Many of them want to be accepted into the Black community. Many of them who come from Nigeria, they grow up watching Black Americans play basketball. They come over here. Many of them want to be accepted. They immigrate into the schools with African American kids, and they're called names. African booty scratcher.
Everybody gets called that. Everybody gets called that. If you're dark skin, you get called that, even if you're Black American.
But they may have a little accent. They have also. I hear that from most African people that they are talked down to. People make fun of them. They wanted to be accepted by Black people in America. Black people really made fun of them. So as a defense mechanism, they excel really well because of that. They use that as a resource. I've heard African people say this. Mm-hmm. Are Black people, when these Blacks come over from Africa and they want to integrate into our churches and be a part of the Black, because African Americans have really inspired Africans, like Liberia was a country set up by African Americans to a certain degree. Mm-hmm. Booker T. Washington had a big impact on education in Africa. People look up to Malcolm X in Africa, our leaders. Mm-hmm. When they come over here and they want to, be cool with us, and we don't accept them, mm-hmm. we make fun of them. Mm-hmm. We call them African booty scratcher names like that, Steve. Is that are African Americans? Because we can be mean people. Are we causing a division between our African brothers as we have treated them over the years?
Well, I mean, that's part of it. I mean, you got to think in any aspect. I mean, like I say, they talked about classism here a few minutes ago. Any child, it's not just African. It's just anybody being teased by somebody is going to resent them no matter who's doing the teasing. If you can't take it, you might have to grow a thick skin. But when you get out of that environment and you look at everything, plus the fact, like I told you earlier, that you think you're you're from the original land or the original continent, it sets an arrogance, but it sets a painful hurt. That fuck that Black man, because the black men all my life in that high school just fuck with me, and they like fuck them. When I get better, I'm gonna treat him like I treat me. You treat me bad, called me boot scratcher and all that other bullshit. And
the African accent is killing me.
Thank you. I try, man. Well, thank you very much. But they will retaliate because of the hurt. Because, like you said, O'Shea, when you went. You expect you under the impression that because I'm Black, all other Blacks are going to accept me because we're all the same skin color. Mm-hmm. Doesn't work that way. Doesn't work that way, man.
No. Let me go to BGS and then ABL, because BGS, we can be pretty cruel to people.
Yeah, we're cruel to ourselves. Okay,
Yeah.
colorism, dark skin, light skin. How many names have you been called for? Because you were dark, or
Exactly.
how many light skinned people have been called names? It is what it is. White people, when they came over on the boats to New York and wherever they came from, they got called names and mix and wops, guineas and poles and all that kind of stuff. Yep. Every kid goes through it, and you hear that a lot from first generation Nigerians. In fact, my grandson's grandmother, she's Nigerian. Okay, she's Nigerian, and my sister dated a Nigerian when she was in high school. The thing is, first generation, yeah, they're gonna go through it. If you go to school first generation, you're just like any place else. You're the odd person out. Okay. You're different. You're funny. You talk funny. You look funny. Your ways are funny. Your culture is funny. You're going to get teased, especially in the African American community. But the second generation, they get assimilated, just like anything else. Look at what's going on in Europe, right?
Right.
First generation, what? They're odd. They're funny. They're causing a disruption. They're picked on and whatnot. By the second generation, they get assimilated. By third generation, you can't tell the difference, right? Same thing's going to happen to them. In fact, my grandson would be third generation Nigerian. Okay. His dad is cool. You couldn't tell his dad from anybody else, from any other black person. Okay. They've been assimilated into the group. And after that, I mean, it's like anything else. If you look at Issa Rae and say Yvonne Orji that are on Insecure, they have a similar outlook. They had a similar outlook as far as how they were teased in school. But after they grew up,
her dad's a doctor from Senegal, right? Issa Rae.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in other words, once they get mixed in and assimilated, they become just like anybody else. So that hurt will go away, especially after a nightstick comes close to your head. You have a gun pointing in your face for a cop. You will learn that you're black real quick. In fact, some of the most radical feminists or the radical folks in America today are Africans more than black people actually are. They're more radical as far as civil rights than even we are, because it's a culture shock to them, because they don't have the history that we have. They don't have a 200-year history to get used to what we go through and what we do. So it's a shock to them. So naturally, they're gonna feel some kind of way. And it's not all Africans. It's not, Nigerians, when you get concentrated in a certain group, like say in Houston, because there's a big, large mess of them, and they're not distributed throughout the whole community, like say in the United States, like in California, where the Ghanaians and the Nigerians are all kind of mixed in, interspersed with everybody else. They're like the Chinese or the Arabs or anybody else that groups up into a community. They're gonna look at you with a side eye because they're used to being inside their own group and continuing their own culture, if that makes sense.
Let's talk about the LAR movement, because I just want to kind of spin the question a little bit, because many Africans, because you said this, Africans who come to America, they're very critical of Black Americans. They're critical of now, even though on average, I think Black Americans are, out of all Blacks in the world, as far as a high population of Blacks, if you were to take African Americans as a group and put them in their own country, by far they're the most brightest Blacks on planet Earth, as on average, by leaps and bounds. Nigerian Americans and other Africans are very critical of Blacks about how we are not developing. But when you talk about those countries, Ivory Coast, Ghana, Nigeria, which is ciphered at least $1 trillion from its own people that don't even have stable electricity. When you talk about the state of their own affairs, they're very offended. Can you elaborate on that? Because why can Africans criticize Blacks, but they cannot understand that they're also, and many of those people who left their country, they created what they call the brain drain, right?
Yes.
Many of their people are studying here, do not want to go back. They're in London or the UK. They're in Australia, former New Zealand, because, you know, it's easier for them to go to former British colonies. You know, are they the problem that they're pointing at us? Are they just the same or if not worse for leaving their countries for better lives?
Oh man. Okay, I'm gonna go back and then get to it. Like when the teasing happens when they're young,
right?
We all get teased. But what happens is people look at you different when you're an adult being a jerk to adults because of what happened to you as a kid. It starts not to make, it doesn't make sense at that point. And what winds up happening here, even when I would bring it up that to them about, you know, their country and their history, they kind of drank the Kool-Aid about the American dream. You know, so this American dream means you can come here, anything can happen to you or happen for you if you work hard, but you black folks are slipping. Because I got friends from Africa and friends from Haiti that have the same mindset. And but they until it gets put to the test, then all of a sudden it's like as easy as I thought. And we're like, yeah, so why are you here talking crazy to me when you can go home and build this easier? And once you ask them that question, they're like lost because they're looking at white supremacy as, you know, they colonized my country or my land or my continent. We're looking at it like, but you're the mass population. If it was 80% black people running America, we don't think we would just be, it wouldn't be the way it is in Africa or Haiti or Jamaica or anywhere else.
Good point.
So the complete different mindset, they can't see, you know, and to a degree, I get it because their country has been beaten up for years, but they've had the mass population for years, so we don't get it. But that's my idea on that.
Let me ask Anthony Brian Logan probably the same question because before I say this, many of you heard of Liberia.
Yes.
You guys know the history about Liberia.
Yes.
This is the only time in history that we could see what would happen if African Americans who had some form of intelligence, because those people who were deported to Liberia by their own free will were free slaves, some of the brightest of African Americans at the time. We kind of have an understanding. Now, don't get me wrong, they were put there by the government, but we kind of have an understanding about what would happen if African Americans who are intelligent mixed with Africans who are maybe not so intelligent. And I think that what you see is what will happen in Liberia. I think that you know, what do you think, Anthony Brown Logan? Do you think that if bright African Americans were to go to Nigeria like bright Nigerians come to Africa, come to America, would we see more domination of African Americans in Nigeria than Nigerian or Africa and American?
Okay, so are you asking if we were to go over there to Nigeria, will we dominate more over there than we do over here?
Would we dominate Nigeria more than they dominate us in America?
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying. Well, I don't think. Okay, I got you. I don't think they dominate us over here. I think that some of them perform better than the average African American. But I present this to you. Let's look at the average Nigerian immigrant that comes over here. So the average of all African Americans, and you exclude some of the more lower class people. So let's look at it like this. The average Nigerian that comes over here that's in the middle class, compare them to the middle class blacks and see how they perform. Mm-hmm. See, there's a middle class of blacks as well. It's not that many of us, but they do exist. You know, go to DC and places like that. Matter of fact, if you go to DC, that's a big African area right there. A lot of Nigerians, a lot of people from East Africa and stuff like that. Compare them to the African Americans that have already been there and see how it is. So it's not really a domination. If we were to go over there, I think it'd be the same kind of situation. You know, African Americans that have some money, that were kind of successful, are able to go over there and stand out a little bit because they're not native. But at the same time, there's probably some Nigerians over there that are kind of like on the same level. Those that could probably be part of the brain drain to come over to the UK, US, New Zealand, etc., and study. That's how that would work.
Mm-hmm. So let me ask you this before we get to back to Steve. if these black people are so bright, these Africans, and no doubt they are, matriculating and doing very well. Why don't we see these same people go back to their countries and do better by their own countries? I mean, why don't we see as much talent as countries like Ghana have that are expating? Why don't, because they criticize us for not cleaning up our communities and fixing it, and they get the education and all of these training stuff like that. Why don't they do it there?
Well, I want to say that not all. I'm gonna say that for you because people in the chat getting triggered. Oh, you guys just hate Africans. Nah, it ain't about that. It's just about someone that come over here that kind of want to look down on us. There's a lot of good Africans that come over here. They want to be American. They're not into all of that. They exist, but that what also exists is those that want to kind of like look down at us and say, "Oh, y'all are lesser than us. We're Nigerians. We're better than you." So you have different camps of people to come over here. They're not all kind of the same. But I know you weren't saying that, but I just want to clear it up for the chat. But beyond that, I think the reason why they can't go back to their native country and clean it up is because they got forced out. I was saying that on my Facebook the other day, how in the African American community, those of us that have high IQ and are successful are forced out of the black community by low IQ blacks and unsuccessful blacks, right? Imagine this. If you become a doctor in your village and instantly you got more money than everybody in the whole village combined, how can you stay there? How can you stay there? And then if you go to a community in Nigeria that's kind of like a little bit more affluent, parts of like Abuja, Victoria Island, maybe parts of Lagos or whatever, if you go there, you're still gonna be surrounded by crippling poverty. It's just like if you go to India and you get these big giant high rises that's somebody's house, but surrounded it's a slum. Like, do you want to live right there and be in constant danger and not really be able to move the needle because everybody's hating on you because you got money? Or do you just want to say, you know what, I can't deal with this. I'm gonna take my wife and kids and move to UK and live like a king? What you want to do?
It's a great point. Great point. Great point. I can't argue that. That's a good point. Let me do this before we go to I believe BGS and then Steve. Steve uploaded the video while he's on the damn hand guy. Ain't that great? Steve is multitasking. Let me do this. I wanted to give some shout outs to the people who have donated in the super chat. I want to do that. So let me give a shout out to two people. One is King Demetrius. Shout out for the $30 super chat. I really appreciate that. And then Jason, shout out to you, bro. $12. That's my man. He hella funny, dude. He's a truck driver. So shout out to him. Let me take the conversation here to BGS and then Steve. Okay, so BGS, listen, I've been changed since I've been in Africa. I'm not maybe as tribalistic as I was last year, right?
Okay.
What can Black Americans and Africans do to work together to build a better Africa and to build a better diaspora, despite differences or Cold War beefs in the past?
Number one, the Black folks, because I'm a Pan-African, you already know that.
Right.
One thing that Black people can do to better get to know or basically heal the whatever divide they think it is between Africans and Black folks in America is actually visit the ones that, I know it's expensive, but if you actually go there and spend like you did, you have a different mindset once you went there and saw actually how it was rather than what you thought it was, right? You have a different mindset. Okay, okay, it's way different. There are differences between Black people in Africa. They're not all one monolith, right?
Right.
You got that when you got there. That's one. Visit there. The second thing is, if you want to help build a better Africa and a better Black community, is actually go to the African business conferences, because they're all in all your major cities like Houston, LA, DC, New York. They have African business conferences. Even if you don't go there and to participate or buy anything or get into business, go there and start talking to people. Okay, realize, because like I think maybe 3 or 4 years ago, there was one here in LA at USC, right? And my daughter didn't know anything about doing business in Africa or Pan-Africanism. So I took her. It was like a 6-hour conference where you get to talk to business people in Africa from all over the continent, right? You sit down, they explain the plans. That's how come I learned about the East African corridor, because they were explaining it back then in I think it was 2012. They were explaining it, and you get to get a feel for doing business. You get the feel of how you can cooperate. You get a feel of okay, one business person to another. You get a feel that, okay, there are differences between countries and tribes, but the thing is that you get a feel that they want to do business with you. They actually want you there, even though you don't always see it, don't always feel it, but Africans actually do want African Americans to go there to visit, go there to participate, go there to open up businesses, go there to be a part of it. Mm-hmm. That's what they really want, because to them, okay, the African American community in the United States, that's the shining light on top of the hill. That is the summit. So when they get a ticket, their golden ticket, punch it to actually get here, they think they've arrived, because this is the Black African Mecca, believe it or not, to them. So when you go there, you got that blue passport. Okay, you have a golden ticket. Okay, you're from the empire, man. You're from Utopia. Tell us about it, because I'm sure when you were there, they wanted you to tell them to tell you all about America and what you do and how it was there, where you came from, and all that kind of stuff, didn't they?
They did, and they didn't even know that I wasn't. They didn't even know what an African American was. They didn't know any history about the slave trade. I was in East Africa, so they didn't.
Yeah, no.
They thought I was a Nigerian visiting from, they thought I was an African that moved to America. But let me ask you. Let me go to Steve real quick, and I'm gonna ask him a different question, because Anthony Brian Logan, he's playing the devil's advocate tonight.
Why? Okay, he would agree with me.
Playing the devil advocate tonight. He put a see, that's why he's over there. You see him over there smiling and shit.
Okay,
Steve.
I'm just saying.
I gotta play devil's advocate. I gotta get it started. Steve.
Yes, sir.
New England LAR movement. We're saying, hey, what can African Americans do in Africans to make a better Africa or diaspora? Something that I'm interested in. I love me and Steve. You guys don't know, me and Steve talk every fucking day. Sometimes too goddamn much, but me and Steve talk every day. One of the things that me and Steve talk about is the market of Nigeria. I love that market. In fact, Ron Wills has an article right now going viral in Lagos as we speak.
Really?
That he wrote 2 weeks ago on the negromanosphere.com. So I actually promote Facebook ads in Lagos. I don't even promote it in Lagos. We like the opportunity there. Me and Steve like it. We want Nigeria. We want to take the BGS master teacher and the ABLs and the LAR movement game and Steve to Africa, right? But what Anthony Brian Logan is saying, well, why is it that African Americans need to be working with Africans? Why can't Africans work together with Africans and build a better Africa? Right. I think you got to stop the show on that one. That's a fucking great question. You have Africans who have means in the United States. You have Africans who have means in the UK. You have Nigerians everywhere, in China and Malaysia. Why can't you Africans? They have all kinds of buku loads of money. Why can't they build a better Africa?
It's the same reason why blacks can't work with other blacks. It's no different. It's just with Africans. I'm sure not only does it deal with class, but it's also a mindset. Mindset, of course. It's a mindset that they have, just like black people have. Some black people are, again, it's locus of control. You got external and internal. So you got those that see the world differently from other. Okay, let's put it this way. You have some Africans that see the world one way. You have other Africans that see the world another way. Then you have the ones in the middle that see it another way. And the ones in the middle are like, okay, well, you know what? You might have some Africans that say, you know what? Maybe we need to work with the white man a little bit more to bring them in to help build. African on the left may see that African as a sellout, racist, coon, whatever, or have whatever term they want to use in Africa. I don't know what the terms they use, but then there's the problem right there. Then you have the third African that says, well, maybe the African number one is right. Then makes the African the one in the middle think the one on the left is, then he's a sellout for agreeing with African number one. So it's a lot of this. It's a lot of problems amongst us, depending on the way you view the world. It's all about the viewpoints. It's not about the color of your skin. It's not about where you're at. It's how you view the world. And if you don't see, if somebody doesn't view it the same way you view it, then you're going to say they are the turncoat. And again, in African terms, they're the coon, the sellout, and all this other stuff. So why would I want to work with a coon or a sellout who doesn't see it my way? Who is he to tell me, well, maybe we should look to other races to build? Who is he to tell me that when we can do it ourselves? But then you have the other guy saying, well, maybe we can maybe do a little bit of both. Well, who are you to tell me what we should do? That's why it will never work, because of different viewpoints, big dog.
That's a great fucking point. Let me go to Lar Movement, because Anthony Brian Logan is starting shit in chat.
I'm just talking. We're just having a conversation. That's all. Because I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say what I said. Somebody in the chat said, African Americans come back home. I'm like, why would we do that? Africans sold us to Europeans in the 1600s.
Exactly.
See, here we go. Here we go. Okay, so listen. They're gonna be. I'm gonna actually, when this video's over, I'm putting this video and I'm gonna promote it on Facebook ads to Nigeria, and I'm gonna see somebody get pissed off.
They're gonna be upset. People are gonna be upset, but people are gonna be upset. But if you could just look at the facts for what they are, you would not be upset. You can't deny history. That's what happened. Now, I love African people that I've met. People that I met is cool. Hey, I love all y'all. Y'all good people. A lot of them support me on my channel, but we gotta be factually correct about history. Let's not act like that didn't happen. That did happen.
That's true. It did happen.
Many of them are severely conservative too. Like a lot of they love Trump. They love Trump.
Yes,
a lot of Africans love Trump.
And Nigeria is an authoritarian country. It's not a liberal country.
Well, you have to be authoritarian with niggas. You have to. You cannot. That's how you have to rule them. There's no other way to deal with black people in a state like in Uganda. There is guns everywhere.
If you talk to Don Calypso from Haiti, he would agree with it. He's another conservative. Those are real conservatives. We have what we call fake conservatives here. Those are real conservatives over there. Okay.
Let me get the LAR movement real quick. LAR movement. Let me ask you this. Now, one criticism of people who are Pan-African, like Dr. Umar, even people like BGS, is listen, we should not be concerned about what is happening in Africa. We need to worry the African American is struggling here. If we're going to worry about a group of black people, let's worry about the African Americans here. And let the Africans worry about the Africans. I've said that before. I'm kind of still a little bit in the middle with that. But LAR movement, do you think that African Americans need to be worried about, being really cool with Africa, reaching back to Africa, or should we be worried about us as a core group?
I think it's both. Because don't get it twisted. Like, I got African friends. I got love for black people worldwide. But we do have to worry about us first, because at the end of the day, everybody else is on the fence. Like, the people from Africa have ties to Africa, but at the same time, they don't want to be with us. The same thing with people from other places. So they're not concerned about us first, so we shouldn't be concerned about them first.
Ooh, say it again.
They're not concerned about us first, so we shouldn't be concerned about them first.
That's true.
It's just the way it's gonna go. Because at some point, the reality is everybody came here for the benefits that we created. So they're not necessarily here for us in the first place. But I was talking, we had a similar hangout with King Rich maybe about a month ago, and he was like, but black people in the world look at black Americans as like the big brother, and that we should do this and do that. And I was trying to tell him then, I was like, see, that's the problem. When you screw your big brother over, he don't want to take care of you like that. And I think that's something that most people don't get for some odd reason.
Let me do this. And you guys were coming in. Shout out to my man Olu from London. 185 people watching. You guys know what you guys got to do. We appreciate you. Get the likes up. Okay, let's like the video. We want to do that. Let's get the likes up here. While you're in the chat. So if you're coming into the chat, let's like the video. let me ask you this, BGS. You know, Anthony Brian Logan brings up a pretty decent point.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's just be fair. The slave trade.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh boy.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk
we
about
gotta
it.
talk about that. We gotta
Okay.
talk about that, and let's talk about it in terms of how Africans. Let's just take a place like Nigeria,
Mm-hmm.
which you have the North, which is predominantly Muslim, and a Hausa and Fulani group who run the country. And if you know, those people who are in the Igbo region or the Yoruba region, they do not consider themselves to be a part of those people.
Right.
That's just what the British created as a country and carved it out, or the Germans, and said this is Nigeria, and so they just all live together, but they don't consider themselves to be the same. They've never have, and they never will.
Yeah.
The slave trade was very similar. You had groups competing for similar resources and groups selling each other off, but they did not consider themselves to be the same people.
Right.
So we got to be fair and say that. Anthony Brian Logan is saying, why should Black people be concerned about going back to Africa when a group of West Africans sold us here in the first place?
Oh, you're asking me?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's his question.
How many Europeans slaughtered each other in the wars that they fought? Okay, yeah, for 400 years. We're talking about upwards of 200 million people, right? Slaughtered each other. But for the greater good, they found a way to come together and work together, did they not?
They did.
When you say come together, like, what do you mean by that exactly?
In other words, they found common ground.
Like who came together? What countries came together? Because
France,
as of right,
France, the UK, Germany. The German tribes came together, and others. All of Europe had to find factions where they could actually come together and actually work together. Even
Europe
though
is divided. Europe is divided right now.
No, it's not. It's still together.
I mean, like technically it's still together, like under the European Union, but you just had UK that is leaving. They just enacted Article, huh?
I know, but they're still working together. Even before the European Union, they were working together. That's how they carved up Africa. They all found common ground to actually work together. So
but it was not all of Europe that did the Africa carving up. Not everybody was involved with that. And if they're working together, then why are the Austrian troops being put at South T Road, which is the border between them and Italy, because they don't want the migrants to come in there. If they're so together, working together, then why are they doing that?
The thing is, we all know that these countries work. The Europeans that are white work together. Okay, they've been doing that there's very large books that have been written on how they found common ground to work together. That doesn't mean they have to like each other. Same thing with Africans, and that's how come they're trying to form together. Not only ECOWAS, but I can't remember what the other East African thing is. That's how come they're trying to form the AU just like the EU was formed. So so they can actually find common ground to work out their differences. The reason that the civil rights worked in America is because America needed resources from Africa. Okay, they needed resources from Africa. You could not have one without the other. Okay, the black folks or the Negroes back then did not have a power base. They did not have a stick nor carrot. Africa was their stick and their carrot. Africa, because the Europeans lost control for the most part of Africa because of World War II. They didn't have the manpower nor the guns or anything else to actually keep control of them. All they had was what? They had policy. They had whatever they had, right? So they could not abuse African Americans here and keep control of Africa. So basically, they're two sides of the same coin. You can't have one without the other. That's how you have to find common ground. If African Americans are to continue and prosper into the future, they're going to have to find common grounds with Africa and be concerned about Africa. Because if Africa finally gets its act together, comes together under an umbrella, finds common ground where they can actually work together, which is happening in East Africa as we speak, then as Africa becomes more powerful, more together, African Americans here will become more influential because now you have a carrot and the stick. You can punish and reward.
All right, I got to say something about that. Like, are you a Pan-Africanist?
I stomp down hardcore to the bone.
Okay,
I've said that many times.
Now, how are you going to have Pan-Africanism without African nationalism?
Without African nationalism, as far
Yes.
as what? There's 54. You have the African nationalism as we speak. There's 54 countries in Africa, including Libya. They just got blown up. Which ones are you talking? Which nationalism are you talking about?
Now, when you say there's nationalism, are you talking about the lines that are you talking about the lines that the Europeans drew? Because obviously, before the Europeans came and carved up the continent, there was no such thing as nations. Everybody pretty much had the area.
Well, they're empires, just like
exactly. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. There was no nation
in Europe. When did the nation state arise up in Europe?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about Africa.
No, I'm saying the thing is, we're talking about world history. Okay,
I'm talking about Africa.
Well, I know you talk about Africa, but the thing is, we're talking about world history. The nation state is very new. Okay. In other words, Africa is behind in that, is underdeveloped because of colonialism and whatnot.
Okay.
So
all right.
So
my point is this: if you're going to have Pan-Africanism, you need to have nationalism in Africa. The spirit of nationalism is not really that strong in Africa as it is even over here in the States. Like, American patriotism. Like, let's look at Nigeria for a moment. The three main tribes are Yoruba, the Hausa, the Igbo. They're not really, getting along with each other, especially talking about Northerners versus Southerners. There's a rift there. You had the Biafran War kind of recently. That was more of an ethnic thing from the Igbos that was down there who felt like they were being dominated by the North. They seceded recently. That was what, in the 80s, 70s? So
67 through 70.
Yeah. So that right there tells you, like, if you go to Nigeria right now and you say, can Nigeria survive? It's questions. Look at the president, Buhari. Where is he? He's missing. Talking about something, he's in London, but nobody's seen him for 3 months. Their country is not really stable. There's a lot of countries like that all over Africa. You're having civil wars and stuff like that. So how are you going to have Pan-Africanism without a strong sense of nationalism on the continent of Africa? That's just my question. I'm not saying you can't do it. I was going to say how you're going to do it.
The question, what you're acceding to is that every region in the world develops at the same time, and it does not. I'm not saying that. I'm asking one question. How are you going to have? The thing is, I'm answering your question. You're asking me the same question and I'm answering. Do you want to ask a further question?
No, I mean, go ahead, continue.
Okay. In other words, it has to be developed. It took for the nation state to actually emerge out of Europe. It took about 800 years. Okay, it took 800 years from the time that from the 1400s to what you see now. It took 800 years to develop because you had kingdoms, you had regions, you had all that stuff, right? The nation state, if you read Kissinger's book, the nation state is very new. The nation state didn't start until basically the 18th century. The idea of the nation state didn't start to the 18th century. They were kingdoms. Okay, now Africa is, because of what happened to it, is behind in the development. So they have to develop a nation state, which they are doing now. They have to have the idea of a nation state. And people have to work their differences out, just like Europe worked their differences out. Sometimes it was with guns and killing a whole bunch of folks. Sometimes it's coming together and talking about it. What Africa needs is not a nation state. What they need is a large umbrella organization like the European Union to work out trade agreements, work out money, work out build up the industrial side, because money buys nation states. The more money you have, the more money you can actually put in people's pockets, the more they will get behind nation states. Nation states don't survive without doing stuff for your people.
Well, they have the African Union already. That's already in place.
It's not developed.
Okay, so you're saying, so you don't mean that they need to have one. You mean to say that it needs to get better, basically.
They need to develop it, yeah. And to the European Union after World War II worked because one, you had NATO basically with an enforced peace, and number two, they didn't want to start killing each other again. So basically, that the European Union started in what, the 19th? I think it was the idea started at what, 1952, and it didn't. It took almost 50 years for it to develop. It didn't really become a fruition or complete until it's still not complete till what, 1995. So
that's gonna fall too.
It's talking about 53 years. What I'm saying is, it falls. What I'm saying is, you're asking me a question about how can it happen? How they develop? It develops over time. People don't do things instantly. There's a process to it, just like there's a process to the build out to industrialize Africa that they're going through right now. And it takes time. It doesn't like you get a whole bunch of people in a room together and say, boom, we're going to do this. It didn't even happen in the United States. Okay, United States was a process for it to be. It took 30 years for the United States to come out to the continent that we see here now, and we're still not sure if we're going to stay together as a nation.
Let me do this. So what BJ is saying is could be a few hundred years.
No, it's not going to be less than that.
Listen, okay. Let me do this. So this is good points on both sides. I definitely see what Anthony Brown Logan said. I definitely saw that when I was there.
Yes.
No national union. No. You know, there's no nationalism. I think you got to mention, but it's tribalism. True point.
You got ethnic groups. You got tribalism. It's like that in Europe too, with tribalism. Like go down to like the Balkans. It's divided upon ethnic lines. Like I had a caller came from Croatia, and he said that he wants to have ethnic requirements for entry into the country because the way it is now in Croatia, everything's divided upon your ethnicity. And just like he was saying, if you have New York City, you have a mayor. You have just one mayor of the whole city, but in Croatia, they have a president and like 4 other presidents for each ethnic group. So it's not even all the way tied up in Europe, let alone Africa.
Yeah.
So let me do this.
Germany didn't become a nation until 1871.
Also, so we'll come back to you guys. I promise we will, because we have Steve that wants to talk, and then we have LAR. So let me do this. Steve. Steve still here?
Yeah, I'm listening. Yes, sir. Yeah.
Okay. Steve, let's talk about this because I've heard what ABL has to say. I've heard what BGS have to say. And we're gonna get to LAR.
I'm gonna say something fucked up.
They both make some good points, right?
Nigga, go ahead.
No. I'm about to say something fucked up. Okay. When I took a trip to the Bahamas years ago with my family, as we were doing a tour, they talked about a black tribe. I forgot the name of the black tribe. And the beautiful thing that I respected so much about this tribe was when the white man came to take over, and they were talking about it. This tribe, instead of becoming slaves to the white man, they killed themselves or fought and died instead of giving in. Now, what I'm about to say is gonna upset everybody in the fucking chat room probably and shit, but let's be honest. In my opinion, Africa should be a continent of animals. Why? Because instead of giving in and allowing them to come and take us, our ancestors should have fucking fought and died instead of allowing them to come and take us away. See, the problem is that some people don't want to realize is that you have they killed the strong and forced the weak to get on or whatever. And you had our own, you remember guys, we had our own Africans working with these motherfuckers as well.
Yes.
So, but you expect people like me to be nice to that. Fuck them. I mean, excuse my language. I'm just saying I can only speak for me. Fuck them Africans. If they don't like me, I don't give a fuck. Because you know what? First off, your ancestors worked together with the white man to get my ancestors on the boat. Then you want to hate me because of that shit? I don't give a fuck about you. So remember, and I'm just saying for me, Africa should be a continent of animals. Because if you're a real man, you're gonna defend your cat. You're gonna defend it with death. You're not going to give in. But again, people don't want to accept the fact that most of you motherfuckers that have become slaves made the choice to get on that fucking boat. You didn't have to get on that boat. You could have said no. You could have fought. You could have died. But no, you made the choice. So, and not only the choice, but our own people sold us. So when you want to say, well, let's work together with these Africans, fuck these Africans, because they were the reason why we're here right now. Sorry, I'm being real.
Okay. Let me weigh in on that. Oh wow. Oh God. I gotta weigh in on that before we get to the LAR movement. Here's how I feel after being in Africa for the first time, and I think that people like Anthony Brian Logan, people like Steve Dean Williams, people like LAR Movement and BGS Sibmore, but in particular, people like Steve Dean, we have something that's created over here. Like we have people like Ron Wills, people like Alan Roger Curry, who can produce stuff that if it gets over to Africa, it takes off. It's we have so much talent as brothers over here that if ABL gets over Nigeria, he's instantly a millionaire, something like that, right? I think that we as Black people are missing on Angry Man's here. We're missing on a big opportunity. And I think that a lot of us, even including myself, have allowed ourselves to be a little bit too upset or are too angry about things that happened in the past. Listen, the most beautiful thing about me being in Uganda was I could walk down the goddamn street and nobody looked at me as if to be in a sea of Black people. My goodness.
Yeah.
That was worth the fucking trip. It was a beautiful thing to be back on the continent, even though it was a beautiful thing to be there. And I feel that we are leaving money on the table. I'm feeling that we're leaving things that we can do. There's nothing better than for me being in Africa. That was the highlight of my life since I've been living. One of the things I think that people that have high skill sets in business, like Steve the Dean, people who are very bright, like Anthony Brian Logan, I think you guys are needed. You guys have a great talent and great ideas that are needed in certain places and certain things that can definitely propel you and propel others. I think as intelligent African American men who know how to build followings and know how to do things, I think what we are doing is leaving a lot of opportunity on the fucking. I can tell you that for a fact. We're doing that.
Oh shit!
And I think that. Go ahead.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry. Listen. I will help any man that needs help. I'm just saying that was just answer your question of the African that looks down on me. I don't give a fuck about him. I'm not saying I'm not trying to generalize. Sure. You're absolutely right on everything you're saying. They do need help, and we're here to help them. I'm just saying about the one that tells me to fuck off because he thinks he's better than me. I'm saying fuck him. That's what I'm saying.
This is what I will say.
I would agree with that, though.
This is what I will say before we go to LAR and then go to Angry Man and then back to Master Teacher BGS. As fucked up as Nigeria is, I will give Nigeria credit for doing one thing if they haven't done nothing else. They have the third biggest movie industry called Nollywood. And if you've seen one of them dumbass movies before, it's getting better. They have their own movies. You go to any part of Africa, Nigeria dominates that continent, and it's theirs. They own it. They created their own shit. I think Black people in America would do well to emulate that example. And I believe that Nigeria creating the third biggest movie industry in the fucking world, and some of the biggest hip hop stars in the world that are even gets paid more money than even some people here. I think that this is an opportunity for Black people to get their head out of their asses, understand there's opportunity outside of America, and be able to be independent of something that you're doing. Yes, it's corrupt. There's places corrupt. But we're here we African Americans are talented people. We know how to do things, and one thing that we don't have that Nigerians do have, although we have more money than them, we don't own our own movie industry. They do.
Yeah, not anymore. Yeah.
They do.
Yeah, we used to.
Do you know how Nigeria dictates to everybody in Africa? They are the fucking standard bearer. They have and I think that we're missing out on opportunities by not at least emulating for some of the things. I think they're doing a wonderful job in certain things. I think Black people would do well to understand that. Let me go to LAR Movement. Elliot, you're always the quietest dude on the panel, but let me ask you this. Do you think that what ABL was talking about as far as they sold blacks over here, we shouldn't be so eager to maybe go back there? Or what's your whole take on all of that, what these guys are talking about?
I think it's true. And I also think it's a hard pill for us to swallow, but also it's part of it we're gonna have to get over too. Because when we always talk about black people, it's always a comparison with black and white. One of the reasons why white people united is to oppress people of color to get ahead. So we're gonna have to be on the same page as to come together to get from under this oppression, whether we like it or not. Now, does that mean we're gonna trust each other completely? No, that's the part that'll be building, but we actually are all on the same page with that. Black people in America don't want to be under this oppression. Black people in Brazil don't want to be under that oppression. Black people in the Caribbean don't want to be under that oppression, and black people in Europe and Africa don't want to be under it. That's the one thing we all do have in common. Mm-hmm. But the truth, but also the truth in that is that we don't trust each other from the stuff that has taken place, and people got to respect that. I think one of the biggest problems is when we as Black Americans say that, people try to dismiss that. And it's like, that's my problem with you. You know what your people did. You know where we got an issue, but you just so dismissive, but you want us to work together. That's one of our biggest hangups right now.
Let me ask Ingerman the same question. Ingerman, is there a possibility, and I think, and I tried to do my show a little earlier today. I know you have your show coming up pretty soon, but can black people, Black Americans and Africans, can we work together? Should we work together?
That's a difficult question.
That's why I asked you.
Especially coming in the middle.
Yeah.
Thanks, Steve Dean Williams. He got me over here binge watching Ray Donovan.
I told you, motherfucker. I told you.
I don't like
welcome.
This, man. I don't like it.
We'll talk. We'll talk.
But yeah, I think that there's a lot of animosity, partially because I can't speak to the experiences that you or BGS or Dynast has had going to Africa, but I know a lot of the Africans who come to this country, mm-hmm. they show an attitude towards us in this country as if they feel they're better than us, mm-hmm. as if we're lazy, as if we're not. They almost treat us shit. They treat us almost the same way that white people treat us in this country.
I just said the same shit. Oh my God, that's horrible.
And I'm like, I never really had no problem with Africans unless they came at me sideways. When I was in middle school, I actually had one of my friends was from Nigeria. Shout out to Ruben if you're watching this. But he was a cool dude. His family was cool and all of that. But when I got older, there was a lot of Africans that I encountered that were real nasty, like real, I've only, the sad part is I've seen a lot of Africans. I've met a lot of Africans in America. The problem is I can count on one hand how many were nice. That's not good. Like I could count my friend Ruben, his family. I could count one of my girl's co-workers, and like one other dude that used to work at this gas station that we used to be at all the time. But I think that Black people and Africans are gonna have to work together at some point, sooner or later, on numerous things. But I notice you guys are talking about Europeans and stuff like that. Like, am I the only one that notices that what we call white supremacy is not what it used to be? Like nobody notices that. Like it's not what it used to be.
I've documented it, so I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like BGS. We've had a talk. We've had this. Well, we touched on it briefly on your hangout one time.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like white supremacy is not what it used to be. Like, we still look at white supremacy like it's the big bad wolf. And really, like, it's getting to the point where most people are starting to get, you know, a brick house. Can't huff and puff. You know what I'm saying? China definitely got a brick house. They can't huff and puff, you know. Russia's trying to get there. And so as their power is slipping, like, yeah, I think we should figure out a way to work with Africans, the ones that want to work with us.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? But like, I'm not going for that. Like, I'm not going to trade one oppressor for another. That's not going to happen. And in addition to that, you know, me personally, like, I'm cool with visiting Africa. I would like to visit there one day. But so far as just saying I'm going back to Africa, nah. Like, the reason why I say that is because, like, I just was brought up differently. Like, if I'm on a corner and I got people on that corner and we all call that our territory or whatever, you know, it's not really our territory, but if we call that our territory and, you know, I got people that died for that territory, people that went to war over that territory, like, I'm standing firm right there. You know what I'm saying? And we got ancestors that came here and were brought here and died. We got some ancestors that were already here, had our shit taken, died for it. Not to mention they died for it. They helped build this country. Like, I got into a huge argument with my homeboy because he was like, yo, whose country is this really? I'm like, it's our damn country. Like, we built it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm not just going to be so quick to just say, you know what, forget America, let me go back to Africa or whatever. Like, I go visit, you know what I'm saying? Just like I go visit, you know, like I got family in Brooklyn. I go visit them niggas. But look, hey, look, man, I'm good. I like where I'm at. It's nice and clean here. Like, well, not talking about Africa. I'm talking about certain cities I used to live in, like Detroit, Brooklyn, you know what I'm saying? I like it where I'm at. You feel me? So that's how I feel about this shit.
Let me say this. Take the some differences here. And I've said this before as far as relationships with Africans and African American people. Let's change the script a little bit to the dating and mating. I think this is very important. Some talking points before we do so. I have 203 people watching. I will only be on for a little bit because Angry Man, you have a show in how long?
Man, I got to get up with Kevin. I ain't hollered at him yet, so
okay. We'll try to make it quick. So you guys, listen. If you're in the chat, appreciate you, right? Also, for those of you who want to like the Negro Manosphere fan page, I mean, thinking about forgetting to promote it. Go ahead and like it in the chat. Click on that link for those of you who want to follow us on the Facebook. All right, we're gonna get back up to 50,000 likes before we got shut down. These fucking bitches shut my shit down, man. We had that shit to 50,000 of what? How many months? Angry Man, 4 months. They shut the shit down, man. I was roasting too many hoes on there. So let's like the video. Let's like the video. Okay, 200 people watching. Let's get the likes up. Okay, get the likes up. Now I want to have a discussion with you brothers about the dating and the mating with African Americans and blacks of the diaspora, but specifically speaking, Africans. One of the things that I noticed about Black American women is, although we have our gripes with them, African American women, in comparison to African women that you meet in America, at least, or other places, African American women are much more straightforward. They are more concerned about, and the family is like, if I go to African American family, they're not really concerned about how much money I make. They're concerned with, do I love that daughter? We got to deal with that. African Americans want to know, hey nigga, are you going to be beating my daughter's ass? Are you gonna be good to my daughter? If you love I don't give a fuck what you do. Do you work at Wendy's? Are you gonna be good to my daughter? That's how Black Americans feel. We want to know if you're real. That's how we deal. Black people, American, we keep it real. Look, motherfucker, if you hit my daughter, I'm gonna beat the fuck out you, and I'm gonna shoot you at the same time. Africans, however, when it comes to dealing with their daughter, if you're not coming to the table with a PhD, a MD, a DDD, RD, doesn't matter how good of a dude you are. They don't want you. And see, that's one of the things that I got to talk about that I actually like more about African American people is we are more likely to deal with people and try to, you know, work together to build something up. African people, they are really more, for the most part.
Okay. Can I ask you a question?
Can find an African girl that may fall in love with a dude that's a truck driver. That's not gonna work. Her family is gonna shame her out of dating this guy.
Yeah. Can I ask you a question, O'Shea?
Sure.
Okay. If you took a child, your daughter, say you had a daughter, and you put her in private schools, you trained her up, had her hit the books, and you spent a whole lot of money training her, and she got her PhD in whatever, right? Spent a whole bunch of money. Would you be okay with her marrying a postman after you put all that work into her?
If I'm in the elite class, probably not. No, yeah, I don't disagree. But the thing about it is that a lot of those people that we're talking about here may or may not do that. That's how it is in general. And the problem is a lot of these African women who are in America, who, let's keep it real, they are not as attractive as African American women. They find themselves severely single for the fact that, number one, many of them do not look good. And number two, they have too much education. So what I'm saying is Africans, when they want to pair their people off with other people, it doesn't really matter how nice the guy is to the that's not a concern. Black people, yes, we want the best for our kids too. But what I've noticed is that African people typically do not all they care about is what is your education status. It doesn't even matter if you're a person that makes it, you can be a merchant, right? I know guys who have export. They make tons of money. You're not a doctor. You're not a lawyer. They like status, and I think that's a problem that I see in these Nigerian or African communities in also in the UK, and it makes it very difficult because, you know, a lot of these guys that I've seen that are, you know, Nigerian doctors, Nigerian lawyers, it's easy for these particular men once they make it to get a white woman, and we have to understand in African culture when they marry out, it's not considered cooning. They're not looked down upon. No, makes it very difficult for the women, though, right? Let me get to Anthony Brian Logan here. Now, have you had a chance of dating African women and compare it to African American women? Do you see a difference? I see a big difference. Do you?
Yeah, I dated one African girl. She was Liberian, and it wasn't really a big difference, honestly. You know, because it depends on the kind of African person you're dealing with. If you came from a family that was talking about become a doctor, become a lawyer, that's one thing. But the girl I was talking to was a hair braider. So it wasn't like, you know what I'm saying? It's a different kind of person. It's a different kind of
she must have a nice
class. Different class. Yeah.
Different class. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, she owned the spot, so she wasn't like just a, you know, typical person, but at the same time, she was not like a super high class person. So that is really what it is. Like the mom was just like, you know, not really talking too much, and her father wasn't even there. So that's another thing. Sometimes they're not always coming from 2-parent households. You got to take that into consideration as well. So it's different for different people. What I experienced was not much different than the average African American woman. Same thing for the most part.
Yeah.
Now let's deal with the majority of them. I would say the majority of them, the fathers are there. I'm assuming so. I've dated. To me, I prefer in America, for the most part, I prefer African American women over African women for many reasons. African American women are more, I think, because a lot of African women, when they get educated, they feel like you said, the feminists, they take that shit they take it to the head, man. When they get educated, they don't want to cook, they don't want to do anything, they're not gonna suck dick. Don't ask them shit. African American women are going to be a little bit more liberal to work, and you think black women, you know, they're a little bit more willing to work with you. African women, for the most part, no. What about you, BGS? Do you think there's a difference between dating African women in America and black women?
Okay, you got to remember it's with Africans, depending on what country they come from, because each country or each tribe has its own culture. That's number one. Number two, Africans deal far more in class than we do, because the way they court and way they mate, and they're used to arranged marriages. So back in the day when, like say back in the early 20th century, even the 19th century, when you asked for a black woman's hand in marriage from the father, he wanted to make sure that you were of quality of his daughter, number one. Number two, that you could actually financially provide for his daughter. Because we live in a liberal country, we have gotten away from that, far away from that. So African American women, just like us, we don't have those same values that we used to have. So it's more familiar to, it's more liberal, it's more looser. So there's some things that you will get as far as being liberal from an African American woman. But if you want a woman with traditional values, then you'll far more likely be with an African woman, because if that's what you want, it's a matter of choice, a matter of what you want. And like you said, if you deal with a woman that's from a lower class that's African, then you won't have all those issues. They're going to look up to you. If you really want an African woman, you go to the continent and get one. Okay, there's tons of them, and they won't give you all those headaches.
With her.
No,
Bring her back.
Don't bring her back. The sisters will get to her. Go ahead. Go. Yeah. Go ahead, Steve.
I've said that numerous times. Don't bring them back here.
Don't bring them back here.
Can I play devil's advocate?
Please, sure,
ahead,
please.
Steve.
Well, again, you say you all want African women, and I respect that.
Mm-hmm.
So a white woman born in Africa, is she considered an African woman?
No.
I mean, wait, hold on now. See, wait, hold on now. Wait.
Oh, you start some shit, Dean.
I'm I'm just being devil's advocate. If
they don't call themselves African. No, they don't call themselves African. They call them whatever.
But if you're born in Africa, does that not make you African?
They wouldn't say that, because I've met them.
Well, like South African, there's a big white population there.
Yeah, they consider them Afrikaners, which are white Dutch.
Okay.
And I talked to a lot of them. And they don't consider themselves African. Okay.
But if you're born, okay, I understand what you're saying.
I'm telling you, I've talked to the ones that are from over there. Okay. I've talked to them, and that's what they say. Not what I say. They say.
It's like Egyptians in Liberia. It's like Egyptians and Tunisians, not necessarily African. When you say African, what you mean is sub-Saharan Black African. You don't mean the Berbers or the Arabs or the white people.
Right.
Yeah. Thank you for educating me. No, you're right. I'm just asking the question. No, I'm just asking the question. I'm just asking the question because somebody's saying, well, wait a second. O'Shea say he wants an African woman, but what if he runs into an Egyptian woman that is in a country in Africa?
Mm-hmm.
Does that make her an African woman, or is she an Egyptian woman that lives in Africa?
Because I got Kwame Nkrumah selling out.
You see how them Cowboys like kicking up dust?
Yeah, I know. Well, okay, I can.
Cowboys, baby.
I can.
Okay, let's get it, fellas. Okay.
I can tell you because I'm in the Pan-African community, and I know a friend of mine, a real good. He's my circle mate, my think tank circle mate. He's got 2 Ghanaian wives. Okay, and he's bringing them both over, and they're cool. Yeah, he got 2 Ghanaian wives with children, and he's in his 60s. So
time bomb.
We'll see. Or I can tell you, most of them. I know African women that have come from there over here, and they still have their traditional values, and some of them have been here since for 20, 25 years, and they don't have. In fact, they would tell you they don't understand African American women. On some things, a lot of things.
I will admit the African women that I have seen in this country that have been here for a while, they're the strongest at holding out.
Yeah.
But the Borg will not be denied.
It's too strong. It will be assimilated.
So like they'll start doing like they won't get rid of their culture completely. but they'll start doing little stuff like, because I know one dude, he had a wife from matter of fact, my best friend's uncle. He had got a wife that was from what part of Africa was she from? I forgot what part of Africa she was from, but she came over here, and after a few years, like, yeah, she made that. Yeah, she made that transition. She was hanging around too many sisters.
Let's talk about that real quick.
About this, man.
Let's talk about that real quick. As far as the African women, I've never been to Nigeria, but what you do see from what I've heard from many Nigerian men is that black women, the negative stereotypes of black women, if you go to Nigeria, you're going to see all of that same negative stereotypes there. The weaves, our African American women, their culture, is it ruining West African women?
Yeah.
We gotta talk about that. Let's talk about. Let's start with LER movement, not LER, but let's start with ABL and we'll work our way back that way.
But not just the women either.
We'll talk about both.
Yeah, what you're saying is right. Angry Man, you're right about that. You know, I think the hip hop, the ghetto, the degenerate culture is ruining everywhere, all over diaspora. You're talking about Jamaica, it's ruining them. You're talking about South America, Brazil. You're talking about blacks in Africa, everywhere where they look up to us as like the nation to be. They look at rap music, movies, and stuff like that, and they try to emulate it. It's also ruining parts of Europe too. Even some white folks are trying to be like 50 Cent. Even in Sweden, they're trying to be like, you know, the ghetto hood culture. I think it's cool. I think it's something fun, but it's most certainly ruining the black areas of the world because they see us and they're like, okay, I look just like him and I want to be cool like him. So they emulate it.
Okay, let's go to Angry Man, and then BGS, and then back to Steve and LAR.
Yeah, the hip hop culture, especially the negative connotations to it, like it's influencing everybody all over the world. But what I noticed is there's a documentary called what is that documentary called? I think it's called I think God Grew Tired of Us or something like that. And it's about a lot of the it's about these African boys in the Sudan who were part of a genocide, and all of the boys had walked.
Lost Boys.
Yeah, they had walked from I forgot what part of Africa they were in, but they walked from I think Sudan to another. Like some of them got killed by freaking lions on their way. Like they literally walked and was starving. And I forgot where they walked, but it's an excellent documentary. But some Americans actually they had like a little lottery system where they would pick a group of them and bring them to America. And when they brought them to America, they was having problems at first adjusting to American life because, you know, they would walk up to strangers and you know, and they didn't understand why people were being more standoffish because they're like, where we come from, you know, everybody speaks to each other and things of that nature. And they finally started adjusting, you know. Several of them had like decent paying jobs and stuff, and they all got together and we're going to have like a summit because all of them had been there for a certain amount of time. And what they noticed was a lot of the younger ones, when they showed up at the summit, you know, they were dressed, you know, thugged out, and one of the guys that was like a leader to a lot of them, he said he didn't understand it because now they look at this culture and they're really not taking any of the good parts of it. They're just taking the messed up parts of it, like, you know, wanting to wear the jewelry and wanting to have cars with rims on it, and you know, some even, you know, doing stuff, you know, criminal activity and stuff like that. So yeah, it's definitely, our culture is definitely influencing Africans, definitely.
Okay, what do you think, LAR movement? I mean, is our culture, you know, influencing Africans?
Yeah. I mean, I can tell you like this. It's to the point where some of the African chicks I know don't date African dudes because they think they're trying to be swagger jackers to black men. They don't see him. Like,
Damn.
you know, it was the weirdest shit I ever heard. I was sitting there like, what? They always try to be black and they can't pull it off. I'm like, what the fuck?
You got a group of African women that will not touch African men at all. Won't touch them.
No, because you know, when it comes, like, to me, I kind of like people taking on the hip hop culture, because if you really from the streets, you know that fool gonna just X himself out right then and there.
Yeah.
You know, that's less competition you got to worry about. If you actually think being a drug dealer the thing to be, well, I ain't got to worry about you. You know, you're gonna be locked up dead in about 2 years, you gone.
Yep.
But a lot of people who take that on, you know, they're like suburban people to me. They live that life from the TV, or they live it when they jump out on the street and say, hi, you know, I was in the hood for 20 minutes, but they ain't really not like that. You know,
That's real.
you got these guys. I'm gonna be like Ghost on Power. No, you can be a dead motherfucker. That's what you gonna be.
That's right.
Yeah. They not realizing Ghost came up during the 80s when you actually could make some real money.
Yeah.
That time is over.
Yeah, but that's the problem. Like, I mean, if everybody want to take on this culture, but I say this though. All this hip hop culture is just a black version of mob culture. But see, that's sanitized and pretty now. It's cool to be a mob boss, even though he was a murderous, degenerate motherfucker. But it's okay because he wore a suit and he had his hair slicked back. I don't understand that shit, but it's the same thing. You know, George Washington, Scarface, with the Godfather, they're the same motherfucker. 50 Cent, same motherfucker.
Well,
but
you know, that's American culture.
Yeah,
that's American culture. Like, the reason why the mafia was so popular, the reason why like Outlaws and Wild West was so popular, because people that came here were outlaws. That's American culture. American culture is the criminal. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't realize it. Like, you go back and look at Gangs in New York.
Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde.
Yeah, Bonnie and Clyde. Like, that's American culture. Like, so yeah, like hip hop culture, as far as the criminal part of it, the thug part of it, is definitely a aspect of American culture.
Yeah, like the drive-bys came from basically Chicago Italian mobsters. That's where they got it, with the running boards and the machine gun. That's where the drive-by came from. They just black people just adapted it. That's where it came from.
Turned the street lights off in LA. But let me ask you guys this. When I went to Uganda, it was without a shadow of doubt that when you go to the club, you're going to hear some Jamaican music, but most notably, you're going to hear Davido. You're going to hear nothing but Nigerian music. Are Nigerians, now Nigerians are the top dogs in Africa, no doubt, wherever you go. African Americans are top dogs of blacks worldwide.
Yes.
African Americans typically do not copy anything that Nigerians or other blacks do.
No.
Nigerians and other blacks in Africa copy what black people in America do.
Yeah.
Are Africans in America trying to compete with blacks? Are they jealous of black Americans for the creativity that blacks have in music, the creativity that blacks have in sports, in singing and things like that? Is there are in other words, are Africans in America or diaspora trying to be more accepted by whites as the top blacks than black Americans? Because Sean James made a video called the Black Civil War, where you have two different sides of blacks trying to compete for the love of white people. And I have to say this, and there are no groups of bootlicking blacks in the world that kiss white folks' asses like Africans.
Oh boy.
I have to say that. Let me say that again.
That's true.
There is no group of people in the world that kisses and bootlicks for white people.
Oh man,
like Africans. Let me say that one more time in case you didn't hear that.
Hey, I do not endorse the views of O'Shea Duke Jackson.
There are no group of people who are bootlickers. And if you want to say if there's a real coon out there, there's no group of people who really worship white people like Africans do. I've seen it firsthand, not only there, but here.
Yeah.
Everywhere.
I'd have to agree. I can't, and I'm Pan-African. I can't argue with you.
And see, that's another thing. You know, how can you really work with a group of people who really, 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 really want the approval of white people so much? And so that's another thing we gotta talk about. But and here you, O'Shea, you bugging, fuck out of here. You get the fuck out of here, bitch. Stop the show. Don't ban him. Get your punk ass out of here, nigga. If you don't like what the fuck I'm talking about, bitch. This is my goddamn. This is my shit. Get your punk ass out of here, nigga. You don't pay no fucking broadcast bills. Get your stank, musty, crusty, rusty, dusty ass out of here, bitch.
We almost done. We finally got to stop the show, huh?
Yeah, stop the show. If you motherfuckers don't like my guy, get your motherfucking ass out this goddamn shit. I got 10,000 subscribers on this goddamn channel. I can lose one of you motherfuckers quick.
Where the ushers at?
He's a fucking dog's dick. I mean, do you guys think that Africans are competing? I'm not saying all of them, obviously, but are they competing for, they want to be number one to white people? We'll start off with ABL since he doesn't want to endorse those views I had.
Nah, I don't look at it. I don't see things like that. That's not really the lens I look at the world through. I didn't even really thought about that, to be perfectly honest with you. I think as far as their culture and what they try to do over there, they try to emulate us because they try to be like, I think we're like the coolest. They trying to be like us. Our culture is constantly promoted all over TV, movies, etc. So it's like the top is like the best way to be. But as far as being comparable to whites, I'm not really sure. But you could bring up the whole skin bleaching and blonde weaves, but we do the same thing over here. I mean, look at the entertainers. Look at Nicki Minaj. She used to be about 15 shades lighter, pardon me, darker than what she is right now. And you see it with the blonde weave. So what's really going on? I don't know. You got these entertainers getting their nose done and stuff like that. Now, what is that really? Are you trying to be more relatable to whites to be able to get more money? Like I said before about the wider pool, the wider net, you're going to change your physical appearance to do that? Or is it because you think that white is right? That's the best way to go. I can't really call it, but I don't look at them as trying to like kiss up the whites. I've not seen it from that perspective, so I've not really thought about it that much. So I'll leave it at that.
Yeah, brother. Well, and a lot of other people seeing it, man. Maybe get them glasses checked out, player. Let's go to Angry Man real quick. We go to BGS. Angry Man, do you see what I'm seeing?
As far as, could you say
Africans
my
are
bad?
ass pictures to white people.
I haven't seen it because you got to understand my experience with Africans is very limited.
Mm-hmm.
So I haven't really seen that. I've heard about it. Like I said, my experience with Africans is limited. Like I'm still confused about the history of the African continent. I'm still trying to figure out why certain things went on in Africa in reference to white people. So, my education on that is very limited. I've been trying my best to figure out why. Well, let me not say they allowed. That's like saying we allowed white people to put us in slavery. So let me not say that. But I don't like the way Europeans carved Africa up and basically went in and got whatever they wanted, and so I don't fully understand the history of that, and he definitely wasn't going to teach us that shit in public school. So I haven't seen it, you know what I'm saying, but I can imagine it probably goes on because it goes on in this country to a certain degree with the well-to-do black folks, that want to be, they want to be white because, like ABL said, white is right in their mind. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I don't understand why people can't. You can have a mutual respect for somebody or interact with somebody without trying to be that person. Like that's something I don't understand. So yeah, I haven't seen it with Africans.
Let me ask BGS and LAR movement. You said that you've seen this.
Yeah, on the continent. Yeah, I've seen it on the continent.
I've definitely seen it there. I've seen it in Europe, but please let's educate ABL here.
Yeah. I think it's worse on the continent. Not so much once they get here. When they get here, it's a lot less because now they're interacting and they really know what white people are like, and they really know how white people see them. Whereas when they're on the continent, they don't, because they're in their own element. They have an idea of what whiteness is like, and like what LAR actually said is that they see us as wealthy. So if we bleach our skin and wear weaves and wigs and stuff like that, like ABS says, they do copy us because just like anything else, okay, you want to see yourself being wealthy, see yourself doing things. And where do you get the images from? You get it from the group of people that are doing what you think you want to do, right? So we wear the weaves, we bleach our skin, blue contacts, all this, everything that you see that we do here, that women do here, you're gonna see African women do there. The swirling, we don't even have to talk about the swirling and black women marrying white men and moving up, wealthy white men and moving up. They see the same thing that the black women do here. What do they want? They want to copy it. So because of the internet and smartphones and all that stuff, it's actually worse than it was. In fact, when I was in West Africa, maybe about 7 or 8 years ago, there were signs all over that says protect African values. In other words, they were seeing, because of the internet, the invasiveness of the American values on them. So it is very true, and there's a lot of reasons for it.
Let me before I go to Steve, before I go to LAR and Steve, let me say this.
Mm-hmm.
Two places I've noticed a lot of fuckery going on. When I was in Ukraine, in Poland, I was just in Warsaw. You hardly will ever see a very attractive man with an unattractive woman.
Mm-hmm.
Besides me and my girlfriend walking someplace. It's the only time you'll see it. In Uganda, you will see. I've never seen African couples holding hands. I was there for 10 days.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I saw a white person and an African holding together, couple together, they were holding hands, kissing, making out, all type of shit.
Mm-hmm.
The worship of white people
mm-hmm.
in Uganda is so unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Even the Africans that I come across, they love. I mean, I have people who even tell me about their own. They're immigrants. They have family members who still practice African religions. They hate them. Say that they're wicked. I mean, I'm not talking about like blacks who've been fully removed from that from 300-400 years. These are people that they still know. They despise their own history, And I mean, they think that, I mean, the roommate, I got to interview him one day, man. I used to have last year. He's still here in Poland. He's from Ivory Coast. It's a former Francophone country, French.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing that he would never do to be a part of French. Like he denied even having I have a French accent. So, no, you don't, dude. You have an African. I have a French accent. I said, nigga, you might eat French fries. You don't have no French accent. I have a French accent.
That was the weirdest thing I ever seen in my life, man. The first time I seen when I was young, when I was a kid, and I seen an African on TV speaking French.
Mm-hmm.
I was confused as hell. I was like,
"Oh shit, you got more."
You never been to New Orleans?
People speaking French in Africa than they speak in France.
No, well, you know what?
New Orleans.
I actually had, but I was so young. Like my father,
Okay.
I think he was down there in Louisiana, but I was I was too young to understand anything. I don't even remember it,
Oh, especially, I mean, you look at the what countries are francophone. You have the Congo, you got Burkina Faso, you got Ivory Coast, you got Senegal, Chad, Togo. What else?
Central African Republic.
Central African Republic. Yeah.
Parts of Cameroon speak French. I mean, you have more French speakers in the Congo than you have in France by itself, because the Congo is huge.
Yeah,
it's huge. Rwanda is a francophone country.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, and then they do that. Mali, yeah, Mali. Shout out to Mali. Let me see here, and Steve, let me ask you this. You know, do you think that? Well, Steve, what do you want to say? I'm not going to ask you that. I'm going to
no. Ask me a question. I'm not going. I'm listening with the question.
I just want to get one off real quick, man. And we're going to end it after this. Angry man, he got that sleepiness, and he got a show after this. And Anthony,
this is residual. This is from binge watching. It took me a nap.
He want to blame me for that shit.
Yep. Oh, hell yeah, got to blame somebody.
Hey man, look, man, I can't help it, man.
Niger.
I can't help it, Craig. You're a bad influence on my life, man.
I'm not. ABL has a show. I got some chicken to do on his chat tonight, and so I'm gonna go over there and support him. Show. But let me ask you this: all of you brothers who are here, and I tell you what, my criticisms are very harsh of Black people in America. My criticisms are very harsh of Black people in Africa. I love both groups of people. I do consider myself to be a son of Africa, although I've been born and raised in America. I do see myself back there. I promote Ram. Like I said, Ram's article is getting ready to go viral in Lagos right now. So I think that what you guys do is very valuable there. There's no Nigerian manosphere, you know. There is no, and that's the beauty of this. I think that we do not have to even take what we have as content to white men in America. I think that what our manospherian, Black manospherian content is good and is strong enough to take a whole new market over in Africa that's not even there yet. I think it will go on fire over there.
Yeah, well, I have like a lot of African viewers. And actually, this is something that happened recently I just found amazing. Like when I read the email, I almost fell on the floor. You know, I have the thing where I give, you know, advice or whatever, and you know, brothers pay for certain advice. And I had one young brother he said he's from Nigeria, and you know, he paid me for some advice, and he was like. I was like, you know, I hit him up. I said, yo, what's your question? What do you want to ask? This dude hits me up and says, I want to know what I need to do to become a man. And how can I do it as quickly as possible? I said, yo, man. I said, you asking a lot for the amount I was charging. Because I'm like, dude, that's not something. You know, I sat down and I had to really like mull over that question because it's so much that goes into that. But I was just shocked that a brother from Africa who had their country has way more traditional values than us was asking that question. Like it bugged me out. So I see what you're saying, O'Shea.
A lot of simping going on in Africa too. A lot of simping.
I got a theory on
Oh my God. A lot of simping. Go ahead, LAR.
They got a big difference between them and us as far as knowing how to do stuff, as far as like build stuff, because we know we got robbed. They don't. And like we don't look at white culture as my bad for a second, trying to cut this shit off. All right, we don't look at their culture as great because we look at it as that's all our work y'all taking credit for. But over there, it's different. Like if you go to an oil rig, they figure, you know, the white people know how to fix it. The Chinese people know how to fix it. They don't know how to fix it. They don't know how to turn the raw materials into iron or to make those gold bars gold. They don't pay. They can't look at it like to say, okay, we taking all these coffee beans, but we don't actually know where it's going. They got all this chocolate and we don't know what they're doing with it. You know, we over here, we look at that like, look, man, we taught them how to do it. They just took credit for it. You know, so they can look at us as cool as being inventors and having ingenuity because that's what our history is. But they look at them as, well, this is the person who's going to teach me, you know, how to make juice out of these grapes.
Exactly.
Let's see, Steve. Let me ask Steve this. Steve, do you see that we have, possibly a future, with your dating coach industry, the advice? I mean, because it seems like, people like Angry Man and he gets email. I know I have people that watch us in Africa. They say that nothing like this exists for them, and it's not even an industry there. Do you think that we have future abilities to take this over there? Because those markets have always been neglected all the time.
Well, again, you ready for another shock? For all y'all motherfuckers on the panel who think I hate the fuck y'all. No.
He come with his kick ass again.
No. Fuck y'all with love. No. Which y'all motherfuckers don't understand or know about the motherfucking coon ass Dean is that I have clients in Africa who buy products and I give them about a 70 or 80% discount because they are in Africa. But I don't talk about that. I don't talk about that. But y'all, I mean, again, I'm not the bad guy here, but no, I understand I have clients that come like Angry Man says, they will send me email messages and they were like, well, I can't afford it. I live here, and you don't have to say anything. So most of the time I do it for free. Or I give them at least about the 80% discount, man, up to that too, because again, I want to give back to them because again, they have different circumstances, but I do support the Africans, man, the Africans from Africa. So yeah, but I'm just saying that, I fuck all y'all. I get back, goddammit. I want to say real fuck. You don't do no. I love those. I love those guys. Just the ones that I always say, just the ones that don't like me. I'm like, fuck you. But there are ones that reach out to me that ask for my help, like Angry Man. I want to learn how to be a man. I listen to your shows. I love everything you're doing. I just can't afford. Hey, say no more. Just say no more. And I send them, and they like, thank you. No, don't thank me. This is, I got love and respect for you. Take it, young man. Do what you need to do with it. But so I'm okay. I got a little bit of a heart.
I think that we also understand before we stop. A lot of people, I know a lot of people don't have money. A lot of motherfuckers do got money over there. I seen it. You got a lot of motherfuckers that's over there.
To my ass, then, motherfucker.
Yeah, we gotta get out of the idea that Africans don't have, but they have. A lot of people got a lot of fucking money over there.
A lot of money, yeah.
You ever see that Tom and Jerry show where
I saw people driving, pushing big cars and living in gated houses and shit like that.
Yeah. You see, that's fucked up.
The property value is higher over there than it is in most American. If you want to live in a nice place in Lagos, man, you can forget it. Nice place in Kampala, you can forget it, man. It costs more to live there than it costs to live in the fucking. You talking about Beverly Hills money? If you want to live nice in Africa, like you're talking about some big fucking money. Run generators and pay for electricity.
Yep.
Come on, you got to have money. So let me do this, man. I want to thank everybody for the pen. I know we had two big time brothers that got their shows tonight. ABL, he's over there stretching out like he about to, get ready for the dunk contest and shit.
Oh yeah, big ups ABL for being on TV on Roland Martin, man.
I appreciate that, man. Thank you.
You need to give me an autograph, nigga. Shit, take that shirt off and send it to me. Autograph.
I think Roland roasted you, man. But I guess you'll take the roast, man. That's a good L to take, man. Spread the word. Man.
I won't say it was a roast. I won't say it was a roast. Like I forgot my answer to one question, but beyond that, I think I got him back. So I think it was an even match.
Even match. Okay.
Like that one dude that got knocked out. Like no, I didn't lose.
I didn't lose.
Nah, I got knocked down, but I got back up.
You got paid, man. You got paid. Don't worry about it. Hey,
he's a little sneaky fat fuck. So you know
what? See, that's messed up because I would never get that opportunity because I guess they probably know that if I forgot an answer, I'd be like, you know what? Fuck you, Roland.
Oh god!
Go to straight ad hominem roasting. You little short, fat, no neck mother.
Hey,
looking. Everybody like the video, man. What the fuck you niggas doing? Like the video, man. Like the video. Get 41 more likes. And one thing before we leave, like the Negro Manosphere fan page, man. We had 50,000 likes. And what I want to do, like I did last time, is I'm gonna use the fan page to promote all black YouTubers. The last time we had the page up, I was promoting a lot of people's YouTube videos on there. Solo TV 84, BGS Ibmore. We were sharing the videos and getting them, on Facebook. So you guys in the chat, like the Negro Manosphere fan page, because we're going to be promoting videos on there. I'm gonna put Wake the Hell Up videos on there. So like the video, and then also like the Facebook chat, the Negro Manosphere, so we can help it get. We're trying to build the like page back up. All right, so everybody shout themselves out, man. We're gonna start with ABL.
All right. Hey, if you guys don't know me, my name is Anthony Brian Logan. You guys can find me. Search on Google, Anthony Brian Logan. Everything comes up, my Facebook, Twitter, etc. But where I want you to go is my YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/alog. That is ALOGE. I got a show tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern time. It's a 3-hour live show. I take calls. So if you want to call me about this, how we talked about today, if you triggered or whatever, go ahead and call me. We can talk about it. We can also talk about whatever else is going on politically. You can also go to my website, get some merchandise for yourself. That is anthonyblogan.com. You see it right here on the screen before you, and that's it.
Cool. I gotta get my check together. I only got $34.99. So let me just
You ain't got the penny, nigga. You ain't got the penny.
I'm just saying, man, ABL trying to take all my money. All right, BGS, where can they find you at, player?
Oh, at my main channel, BGS Ibmore. That's BGS IBMOR, and for the women, you can find me at BGS for Women.
I think he be fucking them women too.
That pussy on the side.
Yeah,
BGS got that NPR radio voice. You ever notice that?
Yeah, I'm making a channel for the women. You over there? Old nasty.
Yeah, hey, it's called experience, boy.
I know. I know you got a few bitches. I don't put it past that player.
Hey, I use this voice many a time, man.
I want to find out later why BGS don't like Donovan, Ray Donovan. I want to find that out. We've already
okay. We can chat about that, man.
Who was Ray Donovan? The preacher?
It's a TV show on, what is it? Showtime, isn't it?
Showtime.
Yeah, it's on Showtime.
That was but
BGS doesn't like somebody? I thought BGS
it's a TV show. It's a person.
TV show.
TV show.
TV show. Yeah,
it's hard for me to think that BGS don't like somebody even on TV. He liked everybody. But
no, it's I don't particularly like the show. I watched the first 2 seasons. It's kind of like for me.
Okay,
you don't like how he doing that black dude in that show, though. That's probably it.
I haven't watched the later season, so it's like in his 4th season, right?
Yeah, no, 6.
Oh my goodness, because I watched the first 2. I haven't watched it since the first 2.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I like it because I just like, I like
gangster shit.
I like criminals. I like degenerates.
Yeah, he is that, boy.
Trying to get him on Sons of Anarchy next. That's the next one. Get him on Sons of Anarchy.
Sons of Anarchy.
All right, well,
I don't watch that whole series at least 2 or 3 times.
Oh, okay, my bad. Okay.
Even though I think Jax was a bitch, but whatever.
Damn. No, you know who my boy was? My boy was Opie.
Opie was the G. Jax was the bitch.
Yeah. Getting ready to geek out now, boy.
Okay.
And let's see. And who do we have here? Shout out to Wake the Hell Up, man. I gotta go back. I did a hangout on his channel, man, a 1-on-1 exclusive. That's my boy since day one, man. So Wake the Hell Up. I actually gotta go back over there and give him another and have him. He's been on here too. So shout out to him, man. He's been following me since I first started. Lar Movement and Steve the Dean, he got a headache because I'm about to call him and cuss his ass out after the show anyway. So
I know he is.
Cupcake.
Please, you cupcake ass niggas. Lar, what can they find you at Lar? Lar is good on these podcasts. He don't say a lot, but when he say something, you be like, "Ooh, shit."
That New Orleans coolness, man.
Ooh.
Man, yeah, a little bit. You can find me at Lar Movement on YouTube, and you can find me in BGS Women's Hangout, hollering at them chicks when they don't want to get on.
he be having a lot of chicks over there.
They don't never want to get on.
Yeah, it's growing. It's growing.
Yeah.
They said it couldn't be done.
Yeah, BGS happened to be over in Los Angeles, just in case you want a one-on-one in real life there, boy.
Yeah, and I told you, BGS, as soon as I left up out of there, they started talking again, didn't they?
Yeah,
I was watching. That's what it is. They don't want to talk while the fellas is in there because they think we just gonna attack.
Yeah, well, well, that's that way women are. That's even in the because you have a female subs and they won't put it in the comment, but they'll hit you up on email because it's a public thing. If it's being recorded and it's public, then they don't want to be seen as aggressive or whatever, so they'll fall back. Yeah. So it is what it is. It was a good hangout though.
Yeah, it was.
I can't have Hurricane Edward and the Angry Man, Bruce Banner in at the same time.
I be falling back, but Edward, man, that joker be on attack mode.
Oh, Edward Anderson?
Yeah. I had to keep him on a leash.
Man, I remember one time I came over there, man, they tore my ass up, man. I was just trying to comment, like, hey, what up, man? Remember about 6 months ago I came over there?
Yeah.
Man, they told my black ass I had to get up out of there, man. I said, what the fuck wrong with your people, dog? Yeah, man. I was like, nigga, I ain't coming back this month. I was even donating money in the super chat, I believe.
Yeah.
I gave some money over there, motherfucker. What the fuck you doing over here? You coon, nigga.
Oh, yeah. The ABL could tell you about Edward, boy. I'm like, ugh. Yeah. ABL was on there. I was holding the leash, man. He said, no.
ABL. He was going hard. He was going hard. I felt like the energy coming from him. I'm like, man, calm down.
I had to pull the leash for all of them. Him and Cerulean, man. I was pulling the leash. He said, okay.
Hey, but ABL, you earning your black card over here in the hood.
Oh, yeah. He held his own. He got his props. He held his own.
ABL like that ghetto shit. He just ain't gonna curse you out, but he likes being around foolishness.
I didn't get him alone though. I didn't put him in the chair by himself though.
He's very okay with dealing with ghetto hood niggas.
I didn't bring out the paddle. See, if I get him on the channel by myself, I can bring out the paddle and the wood stick. And I show him, I take him to the woodshed. He knows that. I'll take him to the woodshed. So I didn't have him by myself. So I said I'll let him have some fun.
Oh, they got me the first time. The first time I really went over there, I think that day it was a bunch of MGTOWs on there with BGS.
Yeah,
and they was getting at me, but I was in there going.
I was scrapping. Yeah, he was
scrapping for about 8 hours.
He was scrapping.
BGS, you have a harsh crowd, bro. Like,
man. I'm saying, it was basically my hangouts, especially my Ibmore hangouts. If you don't get sharp by the time you leave there, if you come in there constantly, you don't get sharp from me or everybody else, then you won't get sharp, man. You either go away as a wimp, as a cupcake, and smash like a cupcake, or you're gonna come out a diamond. One of the two. There ain't no in between.
I'm accepted over there now, but every once in a while, somebody will jump in there and be when dude jumped in there, he said, "Yeah, man, I like all of y'all's content except Angry Man."
Oh yeah, I remember that. all of a sudden, the skin started turning green. The shirt got ripped off. I said, "Down, Bruce, down! No, don't turn."
Oh yeah.
So, but last but definitely not least, the Grandmaster Steve the Dean.
Oh, I gotta be about the Grandmaster, man. Y'all made me feel like a bitch a second ago. I thought I was doing something good for Africans.
Hey,
y'all motherfuckers coming in.
King Cupcake, man. Come on now.
Y'all watch Tom and Jerry. I feel like how they face disappear and you see a sucker or a jackass. Y'all motherfuckers, man. I thought I was doing something good for the Africans. And y'all motherfuckers make me feel like a bitch.
Look at Gypsy Talk. Gypsy Talk over here. Look at her. Have y'all seen her? Who? Gypsy Talk.
Who's that?
Nah.
I think she like my ugly ass because she always on my hanger. Hey, boo.
Man.
Fine, too. Go look at the YouTube video. She got some big old titties. I can't say it loud because my girl.
No, you can big. No. Well, if you wasn't in Poland, you get your ass whipped.
Titties is hella fluffy. Go look at her. She fine. She talk a lot of shit, but that's a fine motherfucker. Go look at her. Go look at her channel. She don't even. If you look at her earlier videos, she don't even put her face in the videos no more. That motherfucker look good. I'm sorry.
Yeah. She kind of chick you take for ice cream. You don't need to buy no dinner or anything. She look all right.
That's what I'm talking about. Stevie Dean. That's what I'm talking about.
Hey, guys. Hey, note to everybody. He's starting to cupcake.
And all pennies, bro.
Guys. They about to trick. Come on, O'Shea. No, don't trick. O'Shea.
I'm a tricking YouTube likes. I'm gonna go over and
go get some bread. You can get the pussy by getting some bread. You don't need to take it out.
Cute.
She kind of got that. She kind of got that Sanaa Lathan thing going on.
She about to get tricked on tonight.
She nice. She nice looking.
You see them breasts?
Yeah.
Make me want to go hamana.
Gypsy talk. Tell my gypsy to go to hamana. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Other nigga like me, angry man, look, yo, you see him, look. Look, she the type of nigga that I will take the condom off on purpose.
Angry man.
Don't say that. Don't say
angry man.
That.
Stop.
I'm thirsty. I don't give a fuck what you niggas talking about. Just get it real. Listen, man. That's what wrong with some of you niggas. Your thirst is not strong enough.
Come on, man.
Flipping leads to the dark side, man. Tricking leads to the dark side.
Holes in this shit.
I have no thirst, brother. It's a straight desert over here.
Yeah, fuck her. Like I did.
It's a desert.
It's a desert over here, man.
That's how it is with us cowboy fans. We
you ever get the ramen? You ever see a ramen noodle packet, right? You have the flavor in it. I'm about to put the condom on. Pull that out, right? Just flash in front of her. Just go in that thing.
Oh man!
Skeet.
That's why I ain't shit.
We knew that, man.
Yeah. Well, I'm honest about it. I don't give a fuck who don't like it. I'm just, listen.
The views and opinions of Angry Man are not the views and opinions of O'Shea are not that of Angry Man. Steve D. Williams.
Listen, you got that. You're talking to the same person that made a classic video called "Walk in the Club, Instantly Start Tricking."
And that's something else. I have never, ever tricked in no club.
Hell no, you don't need a trick. Let the bitch buy you a drink.
Let me tell you guys missing out on something fun. Listen, dude, I can't wait to
help him, Dean. Help him, Dean.
I'm coming to back. First person I'm going is Anthony Bryant Logan House. And we gonna go somewhere.
Look, I'm gonna steal your plaque. You gonna steal your plaque? Steal your plaque.
O'Shea, you know how you go to the strip club and the strippers will come and sit on your lap for a second to try to talk you into
I don't do
a dance. Yeah.
That was good enough for me. I didn't need to dance after
that. Or you could do some man mindset shit and just wait till 3:00 because the bitches need to eat. Go to Denny's, IHOP, and Candy's gonna be sitting. Come on, game, dog. Bitches need to eat too.
But if y'all see my video, walked in the club, and that's the best video I ever did on YouTube. Listen, I was live. I gotta be low here because my girl on there. I was on YouTube on this channel, nigga. I was tricking live on YouTube Live.
Oh, check, please.
I don't be hiding my shit. I don't give a fuck.
Instant trick. Huh?
Look, you want to hear something?
I be tricking you niggas chats. I trick when I'm on the club. I don't give a fuck.
Look, you want to hear something funny? Check this out, O'Shea. This is how bad it gets. This is how bad it gets me.
For fun.
This is how bad it gets, Steve. I was at Target. I had pulled up at Target. Me and my girl pulled up at Target, right? So right next to us was a simp. And the reason why I know he was a simp, this dude and his girl wasn't even that bad either. He gets out the car, he walks around to the passenger side, open the door, okay. Then he reaches in the car and helps her out the car.
Oh, damn.
And then they're walking. He's simping so hard, he took his hat off. He left his hat sitting on top of the car. That's how hard he was simping. And walked. I said, look at this motherfucker. Like, my girl was driving, and I'm sitting on the passenger seat talking shit. I'm like, look at this simping ass motherfucker. And she was like, oh, that was sweet. She's like, you ain't gonna help me out the car? Look, I got out the car, and I thought she was joking at first. So I look over there, she's still sitting in the car. Like, you really not gonna help me? I said, man, if you don't get your able-bodied ass out the car.
Exactly. That's how you talk to him, man. I got dick and bubble gum all my bubble gum, bitch. Shit, come on now. Look, O'Shea, let me help you out when you go to the club next time. Okay, next time you go to the club, check it out. Don't see you got the weak motherfuckers. They gonna go to the club. They either go to the wall, the bar, or the bathroom. What you do, O'Shea, as soon as you go into the club, talk to the first group of women you want to fuck. I don't care what they are. You walk up to them and ask them bitches who's gonna buy you a drink and walk the fuck off. The reason you do that, O'Shea, is because what you guys don't understand is that every woman is sizing up every motherfucker that comes through that door. They don't know what's going on, but if they see you talking to women, that's going to give you more value. So when you talk to those women, they're going to be like, oh, I saw you talking to that one and that one and that one, because they're going to be watching you then. Oh, man. Man mindset, dog. Man mindset.
Listen, dude.
Come on.
That's a great thing. Sometimes my inner simp comes out.
Oh shit!
I need to practice. I need to listen, man. When I was over in Uganda, listen, dude. I didn't want to. That's what you saying. It makes sense. I wasn't there. I was there to do some tricking. I just walked in that motherfucker. I was buying fat bitches water bottles. I was buying fat bitches napkins, and that was free. I just listen. Sometimes I have the urge to just go in and just do some tricking. I just do, man. I can't stop. I'm addicted. You gotta pray for me. So I went in there. I dropped at least, when I was in Kampala, nigga, I dropped, and I went live. I dropped at least $100 that night. That ain't shit.
That ain't shit. Yeah. Well, in Kampala, it's a lot of money though.
But see, you know what? Here's the thing with that, and I tell brothers this in relationships and shit. You know, like I've been in a relationship for a minute, and my girl, when she tried to ask me like, why you don't do that? Why you like? I'll be like, yo, I buy Tiffany's. I don't gotta do that. I don't gotta do that.
I know that's right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right. Tiffany's good. Okay, so I guess it averages out because my little $50 here, $50 there, and your Tiffany's. Okay, so.
Dog, just bring Sally Struthers with you, dog, and you'll be all right. Sally Struthers.
Shit.
All right, well, listen, you guys.
You gotta
everybody
where it
got
matters.
I won't keep you guys too long. Thank you guys for tonight's show. Maybe if we don't come back tonight, I'll try to come back. This is episode number 10. So these Brother Pill podcasts are really catching fire, man. I gotta really give a shout out to ABL. ABL need to get a mattress and a damn blanket and just come over here moving in the manosphere, because he over here so goddamn much. But I really want to thank Angry Man and Steve the Dean for them and helping me with this particular venture in LAR Movement, because initially LAR Movement was a part of the idea, and hopefully he can join us as the fourth person. But it's really good, man. I really love all you guys, even though I'm still walking in the club tricking sometimes. But pray for me that I will get better at stop tricking so hard in these clubs and buying bitches water bottles. All right. I'm probably not gonna stop. I like walking. Shut up, Steve. I like walking and buying these bitches water bottles and shit. I like that. I like that. It makes me feel good. I don't even have to fuck them. I'll just go in and just hey, bitch, you want some water? And that's how I do it. I'm sorry.
Let me have my pimp moment real quick. Let me tell you.
Get the cigarette, dog. Get the cigarette,
please.
Get the cigarette, dog.
Let me tell you something.
There you go.
Let me tell you something. If I go in the club and a hoe wants some water and she say she thirsty, you know what I'm gonna tell her? I'm gonna tell her, bitch, you better walk outside, hold your head up, open up your mouth, and pray for rain.
Yeah, man. There you go, dog.
Damn.
Cigarette crew.
Damn. Down, Bruce. Down.
Aquafina, baby.
You say you buy Aquafina.
Here goes some Aquafina. I'll be over there simping. Don't let her be fine too. I'm bringing the bitch 2 bottle waters, nigga. Two, three, two, one in one hand, one in each hand, and one in the backpack.
We taking away your 1 year chip, man.
I know, dog.
You come off the wagon, man. Yeah, you're gonna pull it. Yeah.
Damn.
I can't stop. I won't stop.
Tell her pray for rain. Damn it.
Anyways, I'm gonna walk up y'all tonight and
soak up that fog, man. Helpful rain. Soak up that fog.
I'm walking to y'all's chats tonight and tricking the chat. I was tricking in Solo's chat earlier. I got some tricking to do in somebody else's chats too. So shout out to you, brothers. Oh, by the way, tomorrow I have a survival prepping article coming out on the negromanosphere.com, trying to make it better for you brothers. Always support this channel, always support me. So we have a survival prep column. I ain't gonna lie. First heard it from Obsidian, so I did steal it from him. So if he says you stole it from me, well, I'm paying the motherfucker who rating it. So, but I think it's important. It's coming tomorrow on the negromanosphere.com. So I will give Obsidian that much credit for that. That will be a weekly column. I found a guy who's a hunter. He's not black, but it's some information that we need that will be coming out every week. So I wanted to let you guys know, if you guys want to know how to prep. It's something I think it's important for brothers to understand during something like Katrina happened. You guys, we need to be ready for something like that, right? I think it's very important for black men to understand the idea of prepping, canned foods, and we need that kind of stuff. It's good information. So check that out tomorrow on the Negro Manosphere. Ron Will's article drops tomorrow on the Negro Manosphere. And it's called Basic Black Women Talk the Most Trash. That's the name of the article.
87 octanes, boy.
It's gonna be pretty bad, I'm sure. So anyways, you guys, thank you for all that you do. Like the video, so make sure tomorrow you guys see it. Peace out. I'm out.
All right.
I'm calling.